going to get back in until we can work on it further. I don't have a heck of a lot of supplies on me, but got enough to kind of get started here. So we're going to use our building plan and just kind of patch things up here a little bit. Again, this is a water-based design, which is a really awesome design for a base. And you might think it's you might be saying, well, if it's that great, why did it get rated? But you know, Rust is one of those games where you're never going to have a base that can't get rated. But if you notice, the base is still standing, and that's because they didn't get to the tool cabinet. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in a couple minutes. The tool cabinet is really the nerve center of your base. If you're new to Rust, or if you haven't played it since the days of Legacy, you're probably not going to really know what that is. But it's essentially an item that you place in the base, and it prevents people from building right on top of you. So it gives you a certain radius around your base, which you can use to kind of stake out your own part of the map in a sense. People can still raid you, but if they want to manipulate the base in any way, they would have to get to that tool cabinet if they wanted to build on it or do anything of that nature. The tool cabinet's good and bad. You know, it's a design decision that I love and hate, to be honest with you. What I don't like about it is that to even have a friend place down any type of deployable item in the game, like a sleeping bag or a campfire, anything inside your base, they need to have access to your tool cabinet, which I don't like to do because it kind of gives the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, to kind of anyone. You might have people you play with, and you might not want them to have the ability to tear your base down with a few clicks. You might want them just to be able to put a sleeping bag down to have a spawn point in your house, but to not be able to, you know, destroy the whole thing. There's sometimes cases where, you know, you might trust people enough to want to live in part of your base, but you want to keep part of it for yourself too. And that's the downside to the tool cabinet, is when someone has access to it, all they need to do is equip a hammer, and then they can go here, they can click demolish, they can take walls down, they can place stuff. They can really screw you up pretty good. But for the most part, it's been a good feature in that people can't build a wall around your base necessarily, and they can't grief you quite as easily. Now, the water-based design is one where you're building your base out into the water, and there's a lot of benefits to it. This base here, you'll see that, you know, it's out a ways. The water gets really deep here. I have some bear traps in the water, which you got to be careful not to hit. But if you notice, we'll kind of dive in a little bit here, it gets steep very quick. And down here, these little boxes are little sheds or you know, whatever you want to call them. But inside each of those is a tool cabinet. So if we go take a look at one of these, just to show you real quick, we'll take off the wall. There you go. There's one of your tool cabinets. So you click on it, you authorize it. When you're authorized, you can do a lot of damage. The reason why there's tool cabinets inside these little cupboards out here is because it extends the radius around your base. So somebody can't put a water base right next to mine, which isn't necessarily, got to make sure I don't hit one of those bear traps, isn't necessarily the most important thing that somebody might not be able to put a base there, but more that people, when they raid, will typically build a tower up when they can get to an area where they can build on, and they'll try to vault over into your base and ultimately get to your main cabinet. The first cabinet you place is your main one, and it is the nerve center of your base. If somebody gets to that, you are done. They will, within a few clicks, get to everything you have in your base, and it's not really a good experience. Let me take this wall down here, and I guess this one I'll have to as well, and I'm just going to show you where my cabinet is here to show you why this base, even though it got rated, is still a success in terms of its design. Typically people are going to, you know, look for your cabinet, they're going to go into the third person mode, they're going to kind of glitch through the wall, they're going to try to find it. Most people have their cabinets inside a grouping of walls, usually in a few floors up, and that's where people are typically going to look for it. My cabinet, on the other hand, is deep in the water. I'm not even sure if I can find it, to be honest with you, but we'll take a quick look and see. So these floor tiles we removed before we logged off. And the reason for doing that is because when somebody comes in, they can fall into this area and not be able to get back up. They're kind of like little water traps. And what will happen there is, especially at night, you can see here it says it's too cold and 1 degree Celsius, 3 degrees Celsius. You will start losing health pretty quick. So let's take a look and see if we can't find where my cabinet is. I'm going to drown here, so I got to try to do this before I die. Otherwise, this video won't be too effective. Yeah, and I just hit a bear trap. So I had bear traps down there also, which was another layer of protection for that tool cabinet. So I didn't get to show you where the tool cabinet is, and I lost the stuff that I have in my body. But it essentially is down there, about 4 stories down in the water, which is going to be quite difficult for somebody to raid. Because you can't swing melee weapons underwater, so they're not going to be able to break through your walls when they're treading water there. They can't shoot weapons under there. The only exception to that is they can now throw C4, and it does work by throwing it underwater. But the likelihood of somebody getting to my tool cabinet down there would be very, very minimal. Not impossible. Nothing is impossible in this game, but it wouldn't be likely, especially with the amount of effort they would have to put in. The other thing to be aware of with tool cabinets is that, you know, if you're not building a water base, or even if you are, just be aware that I'm going to watch out for bear traps here, which is another great form of defense. And you'll see in here, there's another cabinet, which was from a base that my buddy had built. He was putting it in the middle of the base. He had walls surrounding it. It was kind of just a quick starter base. But you can destroy cabinets, okay? So the problem with that is that if you have a cabinet and it's high up and somebody doesn't necessarily get to it with a melee weapon like the rock that I'm using, they're still going to be able to shoot at it with a bow or a rifle or anything that they have. C4 will destroy a cabinet. Anything that has, you know, a blast radius or that can see it directly with the line of sight. So if you have a cabinet and it's a few floors up, if it's through a window and somebody can see, they might be able to just shoot out that cabinet and then place their own down, and then they're going to have access to your base. With an assault rifle, it doesn't take very long to destroy the cabinet. With the rock is not too powerful, so it does take a little bit of effort. But with an assault rifle, about 3 or 4 hits, your cabinet's gone. It's dust. If it's your main one, they'll throw their own down. They'll take out the hammer like I had before, and they will evaporate your base pretty quickly, which is another downside to the tool cabinet. I don't agree with that aspect of it, that people can just get access to a tool cabinet and then destroy your base entirely. I know that they've had some plans to maybe take it out of the game or to replace it with something. I think it's kind of just a placeholder right now. I think it was a knee-jerk reaction to a lot of the griefing that was going on.